Hey guys, welcome to this Daily Tune episode. Today we have a 1997 Acura NSX. It has a low-fab turbo kit, drop-in injectors, fuel pump, and it's fitted with an AEM Infinity. This particular car is drive-by-wire, so the Infinity is controlling the drive-by-wire system, the boost control, and everything else with the engine. So we're going to get this on the dyno. It's been tuned by another place. We're going to do a baseline pull on it, and then I have to go in and I'm going to have to actually rewrite a whole new tune because the other tuner had locked the entire tune out. So we're going to be starting fresh and see how everything works out. So we just got the car on the dyno. This car was previously tuned by another shop. They locked the Infinity box. So I had a clear password. I had to import a new base session. I'm basically creating a whole new base map from scratch. And this car is fitted with it's a drive-by-wire NSX 97. So the Infinity is controlling the drive-by-wire. It's been retrofitted with a 350Z style throttle body. So I'm gonna have to go and put all the calibration data in, calibrate the drive-by-wire, set up all the sensors, and then we can fire it up and start actually do the tuning process. So it's going to take a little bit to go and configure all the inputs and outputs correctly. Yeah, we're going to get started here and see how it goes. 183 displacement. What do we got here? Key off commit, cam crank, mag universal. I think it's mag crank. I think it's 12 mag 1 cam. Why does it not surprise me? So I just got the car up and running on a brand new calibration. I had to set up all the breakpoints for all the fuel and ignition tables, had to set up all the outputs, had to set up the drive-by-wire to control the idle. So far everything seems pretty good. I'm going to put a timing light on the engine and I'm going to time it to make sure that my ignition sync point is the same as what I'm seeing in my timing map. So if I'm commanding 10, I'm seeing 10 at the engine. Because right now I'm using a value that I guessed to get it to up and running, so I might be off, 5 to 10 degrees of ignition timing. So I'm going to go and pull number 1 coil pack, and then I'm going to check the timing. And after that, we'll be able to start calibrating the fuel and ignition maps, and go from there. Seriously, somebody really do that? Yeah, they really did do that, didn't they? Somebody really hooked me up. This is gonna be the problem. Trying to plug this shit back in and getting a fucking spark plug thing on here. Where's this thing? Yeah, fun times, yeah. Alright, is that good? Should be good to start it right there. Very close. Very close on timing. About 2 degrees off. There we go. Now I'm on. So I had just checked the timing. I pulled the #1 coil pack out. I put a test lead between, where did my test lead go? I put a test lead between the spark plug and the coil, which allows a timing light to loop onto here and get a timing signal. I locked my timing at 16 degrees. This motor times at 16 degrees. And I adjusted my sync point in the EMS, in the Infinity, to match at the balancer. So now when I command 16 degrees at the engine, I was seeing 16 degrees in the Infinity, so everything's matched. I'm gonna put the coil pack back in, put everything back together, and then we're gonna start calibrating and doing the volumetric efficiency fuel tuning and setting the ignition timing up, and start that tuning process.
I mean, if it's off the spring.
I don't think I have. Who's saw there was like a little Mac thing, like
Yeah, a Mac valve.
I bought one, but I thought I needed one, but I don't think there's one on there.
Okay.
Well, the other file had a check. Doesn't mean it was. That's why I'm just going by what I was seeing. It doesn't mean that it was actually operational, but it was like checked like it was enabled. I mapped out the volumetric efficiency for partial throttle driving, got the fuel curve all set up, and I started making some pulls. So this particular car did not have knock control configured from the previous tuner. It was all turned off, and I like to use the per cylinder knock control for obvious reasons, for saving the engine. So the first pull I had knock sensor turned on with a rough calibration in it, and I made a pull and it yanked like, I think it was 8 or 9 degrees ignition timing out, thinking that every cylinder was knocking, which actually wasn't knocking. I had to go in and decrease the gain feature to decrease the amplitude of the knock sensor voltage in each cylinder. It was spiking and going really crazy and erratic. It wasn't knocking. The ignition timing, I think, was at like 4 or 5 degrees, and it's impossible for it to be knocking, and it was making no power. So by decreasing the gain feature, I decreased the amplitude of the voltage, made a pull with the knock sensor turned off just to get a baseline now, and it picked up, I don't know, 150 horsepower or something. So the ignition timing is very, very conservative still. I think it's only at 7 or 8 degrees ignition timing at about 10 psi boost. I like to start off really, really conservative and then work my way in, watching the knock sensor, calibrating everything. So that's, at this point, I'm going to bump a little bit more ignition timing in. I added a little more fuel. This has closed loop lambda feedback, so in vacuum and in boost, it has a target lambda map, and then it matches that target based on the air fuel reading that's coming in from the lambda sensor. Looked like it was adding about 10 or 12% that last pull, so I added it back into the VE map, blended it in, do another pull here with more fuel at it, a little bit more ignition timing. It should definitely pick up a whole bunch more power. So that last pull, I added some more ignition timing, and watching knock count, everything looked good, except that we pretty much went up to rev limit almost instantly. Looks like the clutch is actually slipping. I have my vehicle speed plot right here. This is my engine RPM. My engine RPM goes up as the pull goes up, and you can see our vehicle speed starts getting choppy and dropping. You can see it bounced down here. That indicates that when you get your engine speed goes up, vehicle speed goes down, and a data log that you have a clutch slip. So we're going to leave the clutch cool down for 5-10 minutes, and then try to make another pull and see if we can get it to bite. Sometimes if it's an organic or a Kevlar face clutch, they get hot and they slip. Letting them cool down for a little bit of a period of time will let them bite on the dyno. So we're going to let it sit, and hopefully it keeps holding for the rest of the tuning session. So we let the car cool down for about 15 minutes or so. Made another pull. The clutch did hold this time. Put down 515. Baseline around 470. So it is picking up a little bit more with the tune. Having the knock per cylinder control enabled, I'm able to actually see what the limit of the ignition timing is to gain power at the boost level we're at. Right now we're at 10 psi. It doesn't have a boost controller on it, so I'm not going to turn it up any higher. But at this point, it's pretty much tuned. My volumetric efficiency fuel curve is dialed in. The lambda feedback is plus or minus like 2-3% trim every pull, full throttle. The knock looks good, and the ignition timing, when I do add more, it does increase the knock volts, and it doesn't increase on the graph, which means I've reached maximum brake torque timing. At this point, I have a little bit of dip. I'm going to try to get out. I think it's the VTEC engagement point. I have it at 4,300 right now. I'm going to bump it up to 48 and see if I can smooth that little spot out right there. But for the most part, it looks good. It looks like we're almost done here. Make another pull or two, and then we'll wrap it up. So that last pull we put down 525. The VTEC point I moved up a little bit, which got rid of the dip that we had in our power band. And just reviewing the knock data right here, I'm reaching my target lambda right around 11.8-ish. There's a little bit of correction going on there still. But my knock curve that I have here, that I've established, my knock volts are much lower, way under that threshold. So my per cylinder knock count is good, and at this point I'd say this thing is probably tuned. We're going to just make sure it's smooth, it has response when we take it for a spin, and yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much gonna say this thing's about as good as I can get it. So just got done tuning the NSX, put down 525, 10 psi, set up a bunch of the stuff with the Infinity, set up the drive-by-wire, knock protection, lean protection, overheating protection. So it should have a bunch of fail-safes in place in case something happens. Overall, came out pretty good. Picked up about 30 to 40 horsepower over the baseline pool, over the other tune. So not a huge increase, but the boost wasn't increased either. Overall, it seems pretty good. The idle seems a lot better. The starting seems a lot better. So some of the stuff that was kind of a nagging issue seems to be cleared up with the proper throttle body calibration in it. Overall, I'm happy with the result. Thanks for watching. Keep tuning in. Remember to subscribe and like our channel. See you in the next video.